Hello and welcome to another one with the Cronos Watcher. Here checking in on the price action Monday 28th of March. So let me bring you up here to Tech Screener and the charts and jump straight into MMF. So we had an opening of 122, very exciting high after yesterday, a big massive buy day on Sunday, yesterday the 21st. A lot of excitement in the ecosystem, I suppose, so that is kind of pushing the narrative at the moment. This candle has been on and off red and green all day, but you can see we've already sold down to a low of 118, so we're looking kind of unsteady between here in the 110 and 120 range, so might want to see a bit of correction towards there is the more safe call. 115 looking like a place we want to kind of settle, find some support and then move off for another pop off. So definitely expecting a bit of cool off after this run in the last few days here in MMF. The recovery since the 18th has seen a lot of buybacks, so we want to see some settling here in these ranges and kind of cool off down to the 115 if we want to be safe moving up again. Again, continuing a kind of a parabolic run is always a little unhealthy. We're going to see some massive correction, and that's where cascades tend to happen faster, is after bigger parabolic runs. So again, ideally we see a bit of cool off here now, kind of float between the 120 and the 115 and find some resistance, hopefully find some support range there and then pop off to find another resistance from here. But so far for MMF anyway, it's an opening of 122, looking like a close of around the same, but our low essentially has been 118 with a high of 124. So plenty of action, plenty of volume still on MMF today. We're being careful of continuing the upwards run, and we want to just see some settling down of MMF. A bit of safety for now would be nice to see with that one, considering how parabolic it has been. Same over here for MMO, all the way up at 1080 now after its pretty meteoric rise since that incident we were talking about all the time on the 18th. So we have continued today with a massive amount of volume, 1.6 million in volume again for the ecosystem. An opening of 1022 and a close of 1082 it's looking, and that candle pretty much filled up green there. You can see only a very small wick at the bottom. We had a low of 1089, so that's very encouraging. It's showing us that we shouldn't be too it shouldn't be too dangerous a range around here, but much like MMF, we're looking at the same behavior here with MMO. We just want to watch out for a cool off and any kind of a dangerous range back down below the $10. We're still very much capable of it. You can see from here yesterday, on the Sunday, we had a low of all the way down to 953. So at the moment, looking pretty steady, looking like a pretty steady upwards run. We're obviously going to see some cool off at the end of this. I was thinking that the Sunday would bring us more of this. You tend to see a lot of that, a lot of profit taking on the Sundays before the week starts again. People are busy and they don't know whether or not they should keep their positions set. You can kind of see that here, I suppose, but it did sell all the way back up. Closing at around 1020 yesterday. What was it? Yeah, 1022. So that not creating the downwards move that might have been expected then, and something like a leveling towards the middle of the week, I would still expect to see that then during the week. Obviously, if we can break that 11 range, we're looking towards the $12 next. But the safer play is that we were to touch $10 a bit more and kind of, as I was saying in yesterday's video, looking back at the weeklies, just to find a settling range here and some resistance at $10 would be a lot more comfortable than continuing a parabolic run upwards. The upwards targets then would be kind of the 11.5 to 12 range, would be another pretty significant jump. If we can continue at the current rate, we should expect something like that, I suppose, around the end of around next week-ish. So I suppose 5th to 6th of April that we may have completed some sort of run here in this sort of parabolicus that we're seeing. It's very hard to say, of course. You just don't know. It's all ecosystem narrative, and buy versus sell pressure is completely unpredictable, and even more so in DeFi. The best way to keep an eye on this is to keep in with the discords and watch the action, look for news coming out and all this kind of thing. But it seems that MMO is only continuing upwards here at the moment. We want to watch for tests back down below that $10, but certainly looking for a bit of a bounce here within the $10 range would be a lot more comfortable than just continuing straight upwards for MMO. So we'll keep an eye on that during the week now. Moving on to Sky. Keeping an eye on the time, try and keep this one nice and short. Sky seemingly finding a bit of a test range there now at the 1500. We're still on the weekly here from yesterday, so let's go down to our daily. And sorry about this now, we'll make it a bit bigger for you. You can see we're pretty much we're leveling off a lot in volume. You can see, much like we discussed yesterday in MMO, back at the start of the month, these sort of smaller wicks and candles that are not necessarily testing hugely lower lows or lower highs, but they certainly are just kind of ranging, that's all. They're very much staying still in that $1,500 range. So hopefully that's showing us a lot of support for Sky at this point. That we haven't seen, the fact that we haven't seen big wicks below the $1,500 shows us that there might be a lot of support in the range. Again, a lot of let's say, money that is going to stay there at $1,500 that is looking for it to continue up further. This is a point to really watch. It's a very pivotal point in a lot of, especially, when it's DeFi and it's unpredictable and it's basically psychology and everyone is watching the same chart as you. There's very little on-chain data you don't have access to that other people do. Let's say all of those factors start to come into play. This is often a time when you see both directions, the two directions can very much play out in an equal pattern, equal weighted pattern. So in just as much as this might signal a support range here at 1500, it might also signal a slowdown in this climbing narrative that we have seen here, all the way since really, I'd want to zoom out there further now just in case. But yeah, I suppose since we had a last one and a slight correction in it, you could go back here to the 6th of March. And if we go back up before we started correcting our topside range here, we've got 18 days played out at 245% move. So it's very easily considerable. It could very easily be the case that we move back down here, literally thanks to boredom, literally thanks to people, new money, having bought in here and saying, you know what, this isn't going any further. I want to make sure I cut my losses here just in case, stepping back out, and then we see cascade correction. The next support range we want to look for there is around $1,100, maybe 11 or 12. You can see that it had a lot of kind of a teetering in here. If this had played out any longer, this on the 19th of March there we had a 12:08 open and a 13:55 close, and then the next day with 13:55 open and 12:45 close. So you can see literally buy sell pressure against each other there, but had that corrective move sort of played out, had it ranged, then we would have called the support at about 1200. So that's the next support range I would call. I would watch out for you to see a downside move. That is the one I want to keep an eye on most at the moment, is a downside corrective move, literally thanks to boredom, unfortunately. Doesn't sound very, what would you call it, sophisticated or exciting. It's not very, I'm not putting down the crow fam. Everybody are very qualified crypto people and everything, but it's just the way of it. It's the hive mentality. Unless we see continued excitement and narrative around Sky and announcements, let's say, around the token, we're not, just because it's a seniorage share token, going to see it just continually rise. It will see its own sell pressure. Now, how much an effect that has, we're not sure. Usually the share tokens, revenue tokens, are incredibly sensitive to buy and sell pressure. So that's why I think we're seeing this ranging here almost immediately after the excitement of $1,600, $1,700. We're now seeing a very corrective move starting to play out. And to me, that is a sign of a downside correction. Maybe I may stand corrected over the course of the week if we continue upwards with a lack of sell pressure and continued interest and narrative and development around the project. But just one to watch for, I would say more likely is at least slight downside corrective move, or looking positively in a positive light to find some support here at 1500 for Sky token. So moving on real quick now, we're at the 10-minute mark. I want to try and keep these down. NESS has done a pretty nice little shot up. I'm just waiting on the internet to load here. The daily shows us here, what have we got over the last 2 days? We have had a 12% move. Now that's quite a lot considering how much we were waiting for over the course of the last few days with NESS. Again, very new, brand new token, a share token again in the Darkness share platform, which is the part of the Darkness US dollar stablecoin swap platform. So essentially you'd be burning this token in order to mint the Darkness US dollar, and it is also a seigniorage token in itself in a way. I believe it's going to earn revenue based on the platform's use, essentially. So NESS, they're now having a bit of interest that we were looking for. So it opened at 61 yesterday and closed at 64, and today it has opened at 64, and it looks like it's going to close at 68 cents. So we'll be keeping an eye now on NESS and see where it moves from there. It seems that there might be some interest in the narrative in the Darkness US dollar platform. Also, I must check myself, see has there been any announcements that perhaps they are going to be bringing the NESS room, much like the boardroom in Dark Finance. I'm trying to think of official names. Is it darkcrypto.finance or Dark Finance? Can't remember. I think it's darkcrypto.finance. Much like the boardroom in there, we will have the NESS room to be able to stake the Dark NESS share token. And I believe there's going to be rewards and stuff with a 3 to 4 month lockup period. We'd want to watch for some sell pressure before, during and after an announcement like that. That's always the case, people who bought just to sell the news. But at the same time, I would imagine we see some continued upside now from here. In general, we're obviously going to see some continued corrective moves within this 12%, just profit taking from anyone who happened to buy in at the bottoms around here. But for the most part, I would imagine now we're going to see some continued upwards trend based on some news for Darkness share token, which I'll have to check out myself. Must check in and see what has caused this. But so far anyway, for the 28th on Darkness share, we have a 64 cents open and looking like a 68 cents close for now. So CRN, we'll just have another quick check back in on. It seems like we have done a bit of ranging as I was looking for. So yeah, not too bad a situation after the weekend. We're sort of ranging, it seems now. That was the 24th, it seems, that moved down to the $450 range, I think was the sell-off pre the tax change. So their claim tax was again increased back up again. So obviously people rush sold before that. Again, we were discussing, I'm not exactly sure what this massive green wick was. Maybe buying back into the project. Was it the project buying back tokens itself? A treasury buyback of some sort. But obviously we've seen corrections off that now again, and thankfully today on the Monday we have ranged now from, we had an open of 548, we had a low of 517, and it looks like we're going to close at 584. So we want to see patterns like that play out a bit more here for CRN over the course of the week, hopefully, that we see a lack of sell pressure due to people just being busy and doing IRL things. That's a generalization, but generally there would be less sell pressure for projects like this during the week. And then hopefully we can see a move off, a little bump off the $5 range and move away from the kind of the danger for a lot of people of continuing down towards that kind of $250 mark. If we look back here again towards the very early stages of the project, you can see we have a lower side here of 230 before its initial run in popularity. So again, it's just one we're looking to see a corrective move out of. We want to start to test upwards ranges on dailies. We want to be closing dailies above the kind of the $6 to move into that $7.50, and again just try to struggle back up to this $10 range where we have seen some support before. All of this more depends on the project and how that goes, but for the moment an opening of 548 and a close of looking like 584 for CRN. So hopefully a bit of correction there, and we've found some support, and we'll be moving up from here, hopefully. We want to watch for those ranges again. If anything below the $5 into the 4 something range, again, very psychologically significant to go below that again. So we want to watch out for that. That would signal some danger there. Just for the last one, I want to look very quickly at SVN from Savannah Finance. Very much just out of interest. Let's see what happened here. Now, I should probably draw some LARP lines for this so that we know. I actually have some in the laptop that, believe it or not, played out. I think they go straight through this candle here, and then I drew a second one up here. So take from that what you will. I don't know if we're seeing any kind of a pattern play out here, like I was saying, and it wasn't even. It's just a silly theory. You know, you see something and you think, maybe that could be something. I'll just throw it out there just in case. We've seen here today we had an open of 158, and our low was all the way down to 143. But we have seen a correction from that, and it looks like we might close around 156 or so for Savannah Finance. So you can see that we've done 2 quite healthy green candles here over the weekend. Moves back up, which would in some way indicate the pattern I was talking about, but we're not going to continue going on about that for now. That is in case, of course, we see continued downside moves. If we zoom out here a bit and we look, we don't want to start seeing any lower lows set from here, or lower highs set from here. Want to be setting some higher lows and continuing upwards. So pretty massive range on SVN, as you can see. Again, for a reward token on a seniorage platform in a Tomb Fork, essentially, you're bound to see movement like this generally just because of how the token actually works. Like when you see a massive move like this, the token is simply being sold for profits. You see, it's not like it's not like a traditional token in where it's traded. Somebody else sees the dip and sees that as an opportunity to buy it. In these platforms, this is a reward for staking and etc., for farming or whatever you're doing. So once you see a dip like that, that's why we don't see instantaneous corrective moves like we did with MMF, and that people don't see this as an opportunity to buy the dip. They simply wait for it to come back up in order to take their profits, because they're being rewarded with this token. So that's what we're looking for. More than buy pressure, we're looking for a lack of sell pressure with SVN. Of course, this one does have buy pressure simply due to the fact that Mad Meerkat are so good at incentivizing it. So you'll see that there's those wacky APYs on the Mad Meerkat optimizer site, the vaults they call it, but it's the vault page at the bottom or top, whichever you're on the Mad Meerkat page, and that's literally what would incentivize buy pressure here, because the APYs are so high on the MMF and SVN rewards. So perhaps that's why you see some of these very big corrective candles, but to me the majority of that is a lack of sell pressure. So we're hoping for some more of that, and hopefully see it's very hard to call the range on this one, because again, our high has been 163 and our low has been 143 in one day. So essentially we're just looking for any kind of higher lows and higher highs to be set in order to confirm this sort of upwards trend again here. Very shaky at the moment. You can see such a huge amount of range within daily candles. Oh, the calmest one we've had here is like what seems 5 million is the calmest day that we've had so far. Again, profit taking, that's what it is. It's a reward token, and if people are in here for a lot, then there's going to be a lot of SVN to sell. That's all I say. So that's an interesting one there. We'll look to keep up with it and see if that kind of pattern plays out. There's some sort of a line playing out here, though. We'll see how it goes. So that's it from the Cronos Watcher for today, for March the 28th, price action. It's a Monday. Often not the most exciting, but the Sunday has given us a bit of excitement. Seems to be the opposite of most Sundays. Less selling, more buying. So might be that there's so much excitement around the ecosystem. Of course, we had the World Cup announced, the sponsorship. We had Mad Meerkat announced the MMA, the Mad Meerkat Arena, and their game and things like that. So, well, not that it's a game, it's a click to play. So it's technically not a game. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the opposite of most Sundays where people say, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this during the week. I'm going to get me some MMF before I go to work. So maybe, who knows. But it has been an exciting weekend all the same. Very interesting to check in on a Monday where there is a lot of action. So if you've kept up with this the entire time, I realise now we're already at 20 minutes again. Thank you very much. And we will see you possibly Wednesday. We'll see. I'll have to convene with some of the Crow fam and see what they think. Possibly Wednesday, just to check in. We can look over 2 to 3 days price action, then get a bit more of an overview rather than hammering you over the head with it. So for now, from the Cronos Watcher, thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.